Before we start the podcast, a quick message, definitely not from sponsors. We said off the bat that we'd not monetize this podcast, and we stand by it. We do, however, have to pay for shit, which now includes an actual proper podcast recording suite. So if you're feeling flush and generous, you can contribute towards these via our Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/gozpod, or by purchasing podcast merch at gosatan.com, by hitting the shop link and selecting Gozpod from the categories. Links will be provided in the show notes. We're only looking to cover costs, and in the unlikely event that we get more than we pay out, the remainder will go to the charities supported by our Satan Not Haten campaign. If you want to be a freeloader, your choice. We won't withhold any content from you. On to the podcast. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Gozpod, the podcast from the Global Order of Satan UK chapter. And we are today going to be talking about the last three pillars. We did an episode a while back about the first three pillars out of our 6. We're doing the last 3, and it is with great pleasure that I would like to also introduce 2 of our members from other chapters. And the first one is Chantelouve from Sweden. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
And the second one is Strauss from Chile. Hail Satan.
Ave Satanas. Hail Satan.
And with me is Larage as well, as usual.
I'm not very interesting. Hail Satan.
And I'm Lithos. Hail Satan. So we are going to go straight into the meat of the matter. And we did the first 3, as I said earlier, first 3 of the 6 pillars in an episode a while back. And we're going to continue with Pillar 4. And Pillar 4, would you like to take us through that, Chantelouve?
Yes. Act with empathy, compassion, and wisdom towards yourself and others. And I think that acting with empathy, compassion, and wisdom towards others is much easier than doing that towards yourself. Because I'm on the spectrum and I have anxiety issues, so I often feel like I fall short on what I can and should do. I see the wires move and I can't help but move. Others are black boxes in a way, and I have the utmost respect for what I do not know, and how that might affect how they act. So my self-love is a brutally tough one, and as I get older, I try to take more pride in what I do and what I am, but the road is as hard and long as life is itself.
That's quite an interesting kind of perspective. I was kind of like, when you first said, I find it easier to act with compassion towards others than towards myself. I was like, whoa, that's not something you hear every day. But yeah, wow.
Yeah, no, I'm not on the spectrum, but I also find it easier to act with compassion towards others than I do myself. And I don't know whether that's a self-worth thing, or I don't know if that's another issue entirely. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just easier to see compassion as something that you can pass on to somebody else. I don't know.
If I bought candy to someone, or like repeatedly, and cooked them nice food, and they still couldn't get their shit together, I would be pretty frustrated with that person as well. But that person is me, so
Yeah, and it makes sense because we are talking about Satanism, and it's always said that Satanism is an individual thing, an individualistic thing. Maybe it's a cartoon about it, but people say that. And Yeah, always compassion instinctively. I think one try always to be compassionate with others, but many times we forget about ourselves. I think it's way more easier to be harsh with yourself than with others. It's very easy to
Mm.
see the effect of the lack of compassion in another person, but it's very hard to notice when you are being harsh with yourself. And sometimes that I see that often, and with myself, with when you start to build up stress from work and the thing at home, and you don't take care of yourself, and at the end this lack of compassion makes you like burn out or something. So I think Satanism puts some emphasis on that compassion with yourself to have like a more to have more what's the word, harmony between everyone involved, including yourself. So I think that's really, really
Yeah.
important.
No, I think there's a lot of truth in that. And I also think that it is easier. Again, this is something that I've tried to do as I've got older. It is easier to be more compassionate to others if you are more compassionate to yourself, because I do think that it is easier to help other people if you're in a good place yourself. If you're not, I don't know, emotionally or intellectually or whatever, in a good spot yourself, it's very hard to sort of like extend that level of compassion or any other emotion, come to that, towards somebody else, a third party, I think. Not that you shouldn't try, but it's just harder, in my opinion.
You
It's
you can know
difficult with
what things are important with other person when you have filled those parts, those things with yourself, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
wisdom is the easiest part of that. Act with wisdom towards yourself. You know how you will react to certain things, and you can kind of navigate those things easier as time goes by. But then still not be. It's still hard to like be kind on yourself because you, I don't know, fell a little too hard for someone you know you shouldn't have fallen that hard for, and yet you kind of just went through with it, and then it came back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah, and also I was thinking there's some really important cultural um, I think the word is burden or weight on your shoulders, because we all have been raised in a culture where it's praised to be like a martyr, to suffer, to endure things, and we have this instinct telling you that you have to sacrifice yourself for others, and that's not very healthy. I mean, I think that's something that traditional churches, mostly Abrahamic churches, uh, teach you, so it's easier for them to manipulate you to being like a sheep, right? So I think that also makes it more harder, more difficult to be kind with yourself, to and accumulate that wisdom that Chantal mentions, to be able to be compassionate and empathetic with others. So that's something to take
Yeah.
into account, I think.
I think the church is, by which I mean the theist church, like Strauss
Yeah,
was saying, the Abrahamic church.
exactly.
It's almost the sort of like parceling out of compassion has almost become like a commodity to them. It's like something that you can offer in exchange for something. You know, be compassionate or else you won't get into heaven. Be compassionate or else your immortal soul is in danger, which we as Satanists feel is, you know, bollocks. Apart from anything else, it's a load of old shit. But that kind of like commoditization of something that should be, in my opinion, sort of like freely offered, freely received. Yeah, it's a strange. Yeah, the theists have got a strange take on
Yeah, I think it's
how
on
it's
purpose.
administered. Yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Some years ago, I was in a debate on TV on CNN with a Protestant communication head of the churches here in Chile or something, and we were talking about this Te Deum, this mass they made for where the government goes there, And we were talking about that the government shouldn't be officially involved in that. And this person said, insisted on saying that, but we always help that people that are on drugs or in jail and stuff. So we should be able to do this. And this is that commodity that you mentioned, is because we are being compassionate with those people, then we can buy the right to take this privilege. And that's not how that works. That's not ethical at all.
No, it's not something that should be offered as part of a bargain, or a deal. If you're going to be compassionate to someone, you're doing it because you genuinely believe it's in their best interest. Yeah, which is not to say you might be wrong. It might not be in their best interest, but the idea of offering compassion is not something I think that should be sort of like, if you believe in our God, then you'll go to heaven if you're compassionate. Or like you were saying, was it a Protestant that you were talking to, Strauss?
Yeah, it was the head of communication of the Protestant churches,
right?
Yeah, they were trying to defend their position to have this privilege, and they were using this commoditized compassion to defend that idea. But no.
The capitalization, no.
Exactly.
The capitalism, I can't think of the right fucking word. Yeah, commoditization, that's fine. Don't know why I tried to change it. Commoditization of compassion, it's bullshit.
Yeah, so I think that's what Chantalov was saying. Like, wisdom is this skill to have this compassion because if it's right, not because it's in your, I don't know, capitalist interest or something.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to be compassionate, otherwise you're going to go to hell, that's the sort of Catholic bottom line. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep coming back to Catholic. I was raised a Catholic, so I have fucking issues. I have daddy issues with the Pope. So,
of course,
it's like, and when you're talking earlier, Strauss, about, sort of beating yourself up, and again, you're suffering being part of it. It's so Catholic. You've
Absolutely.
got to suffer. You've got to beat yourself up. You're a sinner. Have you had a wank? Fucking go and cry. Lock yourself up. 5 Hail Marys. Don't ever do it again. You'll go blind, kind of thing. Yeah. Sorry to bring it down to a really
exactly
crass.
Like
Here he goes on his bloody Catholic masturbation stuff again. Oh dear. So, I was going to ask Chantalou, I mean, don't feel you have to answer this. I'm kind of like just curious. We can always edit it out afterwards. Were you raised in a theist faith when you were young?
Not at all. Both my parents are atheists, and my grandmother on my mother's side was also atheist. She turned atheist at a very young age because she heard her neighbors beat the shit out of their foster kid, and those were like Pentecostal.
Bloody hell.
It was a Pentecostal couple who took the foster kid, and they beat it senseless. So from a very young age, my grandmother was an atheist. So no, I don't have that Christian guilt in me at all.
No, me neither. Like you, I was raised as an atheist, from an atheist family. So yeah, I think that, that probably makes us better than these two, because,
Well, I wouldn't say I have any Christian guilt anymore. I have a profound, deep-seated hatred for the Catholic Church, which borders on the irrational. That's as far as it goes. But guilt, no. I kind of gave that up when I gave up God and Jesus for Lent.
Well, I think the hatred you've got for the Catholic Church is fairly well justified, to be fair, even if it wasn't for your own experiences. Just looking at what they do now is bad enough.
Yeah, here in Chile, the Catholic Church is the one that has the most power. They are really powerful. They have a lot of privileges. And yeah, I was raised in an atheist family too. I get angry with the Catholic Church too, because I see what is happening all the time with them in the country. So I totally get it.
It's an evergreen sentiment, so to say.
Exactly. They have too much privilege, I think.
Yes, yeah. I also grew up not in the UK. I came here when I was 18 and stayed here, but the country I was born and grew up in, I won't mention its name because that will identify me. Fairly small country. It was Catholic as well. And yeah, the Catholic Church had a fair amount of power.
Yeah, so basically, to sum up this podcast episode, fuck the Catholics is basically what we're saying. That's pretty much the subtext to this episode.
That is with all of this.
Ironic that we're ending on fuck the Catholics over the pillar that says act with empathy, compassion and wisdom towards yourself and others.
Look, we're interesting, varied and complicated people. What can I say?
Brackets, except the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
No, I mean, absolutely act with, I'm not going, I hate Catholics. I'm going, I hate the Catholic Church as an institution.
Yeah.
I know plenty of Catholics and they're lovely people.
Yeah, exactly.
And some of them are family and some of them aren't. They're great. And largely they are kind of the Catholics who occasionally go to church but don't really bring sort of their faith into an awful lot of things. It is the church as an institution that, I absolutely despise. And it turns out that the current Pope, from an article I read recently, also has a backstory of having not acted on allegations of child abuse,
like
which
everyone
is
in the
kind
Vatican.
of a
Exactly.
running theme. Yeah. They wear those big robes so they. I'll edit that bit out.
It's exactly like that. It's hate against the institution. And I think even saying institution is too much for them. It's a company. It's just a bunch of people wanting money and using these religious beliefs in people, because I don't think they really believe in God, to get more money. They are investors. They all the companies or institutions in the different countries that start with, in Spanish we say pontificia. I don't know if English is kind of the same. There are companies, there are subsidiaries. It's just money, it's power.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think it's worth, because this point does come up a lot when I talk to people and say, "Hey, I'm a Satanist." They say, "Oh my God, that must mean you hate, I don't know, whatever, Christianity, Catholicism, And it's like, I don't hate the people. I do have friends who are practicing Christians or practicing Muslims or practicing Jews or whatever. Nothing against them as individuals whatsoever. And if they want to be that religion, that's fine. It's the institution. It's the whole, as Strauss was saying, the kind of like whole business empire that somehow has grown up. And yes, Catholicism is the most blatant and obvious example, but Church of England are not too far behind them.
Yeah, I actually think that it's something kind of human when you have an institution and you that the institution is powerful, it's important, you have to work for the institution. Those things happens even between Satanists, as you know. And I think that's a really good thing. This will be some kind of self-promotion for us, but I think the horizontality, I think is the word, of Global Order of Satan makes it very hard to fall in that trap, to start working for this global order, because we are the order. There's no other higher like entity that control us, like the Vatican or something, or other satanic aggruppations that have that flaw sometimes. So I think when you give power to a concept that is over people, those things tend to happen, I think.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the pillar where it's act with empathy, compassion and wisdom towards yourself and others, and that is actually written into all the Abrahamic religions, except for the fact that there seems to be a clause in all of them that goes, except if you're gay,
Exactly.
maybe a different
Conditions
race,
applies.
different religion. Definitely, you don't need any compassion. You know, there's all those things written into, you know, sub clauses, kind of that to the original inverted commas message of Christ that seemed to come in. You know, yes, Christ was all about empathy and compassion, but not for everyone. Really,
Conditions
not for
may
everyone.
apply.
Exactly.
Sorry?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's why it's very important the word others, not just yourself and the institution. It's like the Vatican; they work to protect the institution, not the people. Here is you have to be compassionate with others, just with because they are people, and that's all. And we are all people, not an institution that must be protected or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why we try and have as flat a structure as we possibly can. Because the more a sort of like a hierarchy comes into play, the more danger I think there is of that sort of thing creeping in.
Exactly.
So yeah. Sorry, I'm going to break in now. Lithos, are you vaping?
No, it's not a vape. It is. I've actually gone and got NHS help to give up smoking, and this is
What is it?
an inhalator, which has got a little nicotine capsule, and you just kind of it tastes a bit like ass. But that's the whole point. I don't want something that tastes nice because that's not going to turn me off. And then I've got a spray that kind of gives you a mega dose, but tastes hideously of fake mint. So I'll be puffing on this, and it's working a lot better than other things I've tried. So
good, that's good. Yeah. Oh well, maybe we'll leave that bit in the podcast then. Free advert for the NHS.
Yeah, absolutely. If the NHS does offer, if you're in the UK, it does offer smoking cessation help, right? So please do, if you're struggling, just go there. They don't judge you. They're just going to do their thing. I go there every week and they go, how did it go? And if you go, I had a pack. They go, yeah, okay, try something else.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to hear about countries where the health system is in charge of taking care of people and not making money.
Yeah.
Well, parts of it here it's becoming more and more about private companies coming in and trying to make money, and it varies hugely regionally. I would not have got this when I was in Birmingham. The waiting list would have been way too long.
Yeah. All right, should we move on to Pillar 5?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's my turn. Pillar number 5. Justice always take precedence over laws, institutions, and religious texts as long as the pursuit of it does not countermand the pillars. Fortunately for me, that this is what the pillar that was kind of assigned to me. I think this is the most interesting pillar, not to promote my participation here, but because this is one that says we say these things, but we have this exception, because the pillars themselves are something that we say, okay, we follow these pillars, we respect those pillars, but this pillar says you sometimes don't have to respect some laws or norms or something. And I was during this week trying to come to an idea, to think of an idea of how you can differentiate when it's necessary to break a law, for example, not break a law, but not respect a law or being against a law or not. And I think the key here is the difference between authority and authoritarianism, because this is, I think, this pillar talks about that justice always takes precedence over laws. For example, in an authoritarian government, you shouldn't be agreeing with any law if that is an unfair law or an abusive law. And I think that the core of it is that authority is something that you give to other people. Like when somebody has authority and is not abusing that, it's not authoritarianism, it's authority, you gave these people that power, and it's something like consensual. For example, I will say this in a theoretical way, in theory, because you know that in reality that doesn't always work that way. But for example, when you work for a company, you sign a contract and you say, okay, I will allow you to give me some orders in just within these limits, within this criteria, in this context. And in exchange for that, you will give me some money. And you give that power to that person. And it's not a complete power, it's just something consensual. You are agreeing with those orders because you want to. You anytime you can quit, you can. And if that person, if your boss asks you for something to do something that is not in your contract, you can deny the request. But when a government, for example, becomes an authoritarian government, like in a dictatorship, for example, you lose that option. It's no longer consensual, and that's authoritarianism. For example, in a normal government, you choose the president, the people in the parliament, or anything, and you have gave them that power. And you, in theory, you could take that power from them if they start acting against the people. But when you have a dictatorship, for example, you can do nothing. You can do anything about it. Like there's no more consensus. Consent. I forget the word. There's they are just abusing you. You can't do anything against that, and that's when I think justice should precede those kind of laws. In quote, I'm quoting them. Because you are going against every other pillar, or as we put it in Iglesia Satanista, or our fundamental principles or anything. It's like you are basically it's like this idea of tolerate. I don't know how to translate it. When you're not being tolerant, and other people say you should tolerate that idea, it's something like that. I mean, there's
the paradox of intolerance.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's like it's basically what's this fallacy where you because something is legal, it doesn't mean it's good. It's fair. So I think in those situations, justice should precede. I mean, those situations, you should have the right to say, I don't agree with that. I think that's bullshit. I will not follow that law or that order. But anyway, we are living inside the system. So if somebody decides not to follow some law, maybe that person may be punished or something. So we're not recommending that. But at least you can disagree with that and express that, and you should have the right to express that you are not agreeing with any kind of authoritarianism, and you have to answer with why it's not just, why it's not fair. And that's I think the core idea of the justice preceding over laws. I think any kind of law.
Do you think? And I'm not saying necessarily just Strauss here. Do we think that we do that within GOS? Because when Strauss was talking there, I was thinking, I'm trying to think of an example that GOS, one of our orders, has done, or we've done as a kind of like group thing. And I'm not suggesting that we don't do it or wouldn't do it. I'm just trying to think of a practical example where that happened. And I guess it would be the kind of like direct action or the affirmative action that some of our orders do. I was thinking in particular when Sweden made a campaign to create Satanism as an official recognised religion. That was kind of that in action, or it seemed that way to me. Is that a fair comment? Chantaleve looks very cynical.
I was just thinking about how to reply. I mean, we are an officially recognized religion. We have some like trademark protection in place as a recognized religious group.
But to get to that point, there had to have been a point where you thought, okay, at the moment it's not maybe not against a law to be a Satanist, but it's certainly not the kind of like the normal way that people practice a religion. So you would have had to go against that kind of natural law, as it were, or the laws that were already in place.
Yes, Sweden, I think now we have 3 atheistic religious organizations, out of which one is actually it's like a church offshoot from a supporter club for one of the big football teams in Stockholm.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love it.
2 colors, 1 faith, I believe, is their like credo.
Well, it's like in Argentina, they have officially like this religion that they praise Maradona is like a god there.
That's fair, to be honest. That's fair. He is pretty godlike.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty cool because when with Catholicism or Protestantism, you ask them, "Where's your God?" and they say, "Oh, I feel it. I feel him in my heart." But when you ask for I don't know the name, Maradonian, "Where's your God?" they can say, "Over there." You can see him. There's a God.
He's over there handling the ball into the net.
Things doesn't have to be literal to be sincere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, actually, I think that pillar, I can see it in work in GOS when in the Discord server, at least when people apply to the Discord server, and sometimes the answers are correct. Like technically, this person, X person, should be allowed, but you talk to other people and you see, no, this person is a bigot. This answer is kind of have a second intention, and everyone can see that. And technically, the law, the rule should be, okay, we should allow this person because all the answers are correct. But you can see this is not fair. That person is abusing that. And that I think is an example of justice preceding it, because it wouldn't be fair for the other members of the Discord to allow those kind of people to start messing around the chats or everything. And so we have to not respect that rule so that is strictly to prevent that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example, actually, because it's like you say, the letter of the law is one thing, but the spirit or the kind of like the ethos behind the words are possibly more important.
It's also a great way to, when we discuss the meaning of these pillars, sometimes you can risk getting into like very, well, I was about to say sectarian or whatever, like how we interpret them. But that's a way to like, don't be a slave to the letter, just follow the spirit of the pillars. Yeah,
and also the kind of, it's not really authority, but the authority we have, at least as a spokesperson, because, for example, me, I'm here as kind of a spokesperson of Iglesia Satanista, but maybe somebody in Mexico say, I don't agree at all with what Strauss says. Even he's the head of council there in Iglesia Satanista, and that's perfect. That's perfectly fine. They can disagree with me everything they want, because one of our pillars says that, like, it's not because I'm this head of council that I should decide over the opinions of the people we have here. So I think that's another example. It's more philosophical one. It's more like a concept, not necessarily a law and justice, but I think it's the same spirit. I think it has a lot to do with free thinking, I think, at the end.
Justice is, in the end, it's almost like justice is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
It's like not an ultimate this is justice. It's like, what do you feel justice is?
Yeah.
And I think there's examples of, what we're looking at the moment in the UK is trying to do some sort of campaign regarding the recent Supreme Court judgment, on what constitutes a woman and what constitutes a man. And they've just gone with birth sex. And it completely pisses all over all kinds of trans issues and creates all kinds of problems. And, that is now effectively law. That's a legal definition. The Supreme Court has said,
wow,
we can say, no, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
that's a bullshit definition.
That goes against even science. It's like biology is binary. It's like, it goes against everything.
Yeah, and I think that's where, one of our other pillars, I can't remember which, is it 2 or 3, that talks about science and reason.
Yeah,
should guide our best, number 3, yeah. Should guide our best understanding of the universe. It's hard to understand how they could have come to that. Well, no, it's not hard to understand. It's
yeah, come on.
It's very obviously a politically driven decision, but it is clearly bullshit and not scientific. It's purely to make things easier for them, and that's it.
Yeah,
but this idea of justice should take precedence over all. I think the way that us in the UK are trying to organise something, a way to sort of like stand against that, is possibly an example of that. We haven't completely finalised exactly what we're going to do or how we're going to do it, but we will be doing something. And it won't be against the law, because it's not against the law to protest something, but it's standing up against a law that is quite clearly nothing to do with science or reason or evidence, and everything to do with making some cis dudes feel more comfortable in their bigotry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the end, the pillar doesn't say, act outside the law. It's just saying, justice takes precedence. And that means if you think that a law or an institution or a religious text is acting unjustly, you kind of speak out and try and change things. It's not like, go and get a Molotov cocktail together and, it's basically just saying, act, do what you can. But, if anything, law, institution, religious text is unjust, is patently unjust in your view, then don't let it be so. Do what you can to change that.
Actually, what you said at the beginning, that it doesn't say act like against the law, because that I think is the most important part, because it says literally justice always takes precedence over laws. It doesn't say act against the law because of justice. That would be like kind of the beginnings of fascism thinking. It's telling you that
Absolutely.
Justice is more important. That's all. And that could be like a thinking exercise, not an act or something.
Yeah, or just speaking out. That is the most basic form. Speaking out, legally allowed protest, whatever means. That's
Although that's also being cracked down on in the UK recently as well, legally allowed protest. But there you go. That's another subject entirely.
Unless you're a farmer complaining about taxes, in which case the police just fucking stay at home. Yeah, block the streets. It's all right. You've got a tractor, but don't ever just stop oil T-shirt, or you're going to prison.
Yeah. Right. Should we do 6?
I can do 6.
Cool.
Right. Pillar 6. All people make mistakes. Allow them to correct those mistakes as we seek acceptance in others over our own. Now, out of all the pillars, I find this one personally the hardest one to adhere to, because it means you have to own your mistakes and you have to try and correct them. And that is I find personally a very hard thing to do, to own your mistakes fully and then to go, okay, I did fuck up. How can I make this? I won't be able to make it right in a lot of cases. How can I help? How can I make this better? And I have heard a couple of people look at that pillar, and this is not people within GOS, and go, well, isn't that like, the Lord's Prayer, where it goes and forgive those who have trespassed against you or whatever? And I will say, no, it explicitly is not that, because the Christian faith says seek forgiveness and forgive. This does not say seek forgiveness and forgive. Forgiveness is not automatic, and you should not seek forgiveness. You own your shit and you try and do right by it. That is entirely different from the Christian concept of being all, oh, I forgive you, and will you forgive me, kind of thing. And it's one of the things I dislike most about the concept of Christianity, specifically Christianity, the thing where be forgiving and you will be forgiven, kind of thing. And it's like, no, there are some things that are unforgivable. And,
And even how much, I mean, I have in my screen the phrase in the Bible that is Mateo, in English I think is Matthew 18:22. It says, forgive, I'm translating it, forgive is 70 times 7, something like that. But that translates to a normalized to be abused like 70 times 7. It's like, it doesn't work like that. And it is linked with the justice, I think, pillar. I mean, if something is completely unfair to you and you can't just forgive that and move on. It doesn't work that way. It's like, for example, here in Chile we have this dictatorship, and they disappeared like thousands of people. And right-wing people always say, oh, but you have to move on. Just forgive other people. How can you forgive something that makes someone from your family completely disappear? Like, there are people still waiting for them. So some things you cannot forgive. It's not forgiveness just for the sake of it. It's forgiveness when it's necessary, when it's fair, when it's something that is good to you, but not just because of it, just because the Vatican said so, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I also think there is an argument to be made that if someone does something once and they say something along the lines of, shit, sorry, that was bad, I shouldn't have done that, sorry about that, then it's pretty easy to forgive that and move on. If somebody then does that again and again and again, that's not a mistake they're making. They're showing you who they are.
It's like little kids when they do something bad and they say, I'm sorry, and they think it's
exactly.
a word that allow them to repeat that again because they can say, I'm sorry, and that's okay. It's something like that. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's not that they're not genuinely sorry at all. All they're sorry about is the fact they've been caught. They're not sorry for having done it.
It's a commodity, as you say. You say sorry, and you bought a free card. It's a magical word, and it's the reality is not.
There's also the thing which it kind of I see in sort of media, public facing media, where someone's been a victim of a horrendous crime or their child's been murdered or whatever. They are regarded better if they come out and go, I forgive whoever did this crime. I forgive. That's a decent parent. That's a decent person. They've come out and gone, I forgive the murderer. You know, it's almost written in through religion, written into, you must forgive, otherwise you're a cunt. And it's like, no, you don't have to forgive. You know, if someone murders one of your loved ones, you don't have to ever fucking forgive them.
Yeah.
And that's all right. And if you forgive them, you are not a better fucking person.
Yeah.
You are a different person.
Yeah.
You know, and this pillar is not about fucking forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's about correcting your mistakes and owning your mistakes. It's about owning your shit. And that's why I say I find that the hardest, because the easy path is to go, will you forgive me? You know, or to go, I forgive you. That's the easy way out.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, this is not about that.
Yeah. I think that's why it says allow them to correct those mistakes, not just forgive those mistakes and forget about it. It's allow them. Maybe you can say I don't forgive you, but you can make amends or something. And to put it in a religious context, we could put an example with Paradise Lost, with Satan that doesn't forgive God because of that atrocious thing that he's supposed to do, the order they gave to Satan. It's kind of the same. I mean, if all of the Bible, what the Bible says were true and God really existed, at the point that he decided to kill all humans in the face of the earth, we shouldn't have forgive him. Like that's unforgivable. You killed everyone. that's never a good thing. So you are at fault.
And
I don't forgive.
And by the way, God, aren't you supposed to be omnipotent and omniscient? Therefore, you could have stopped it, and you knew it was going to happen, and yet you found it easier just to say, "Oh, fuck it, I'll just kill them all and start again."
Yeah, I don't know if you have seen this cartoon where it is. I think it's Christopher Hitchens with a couple of kids behind him, and his God is like a really big hand, like it's supposed to be God giving an order or something, and he says, "No, fuck you," like he gives him the finger. It's like that. I mean, you cannot be so forgiveness. Like, you want me to kill my child? Oh, of course, right? No, that's unforgivable. You can't even ask that.
I think there is possibly an argument to be made that for some people, being able to genuinely forgive something that's been done to you or a loved one could improve one's own mental health. I know that things have happened to me in the past that I found it very difficult to forgive and move on from. And then with the passage of time, you eventually come to realise that you don't hold on to that anger anymore, and you're able to forgive that person and move on. And rather than it existing in my head constantly about how fucking annoyed I was about it, how angry or how upset it made me, being able to just say, whatever, it's done, let's move on, has made things easier for me.
Yeah, forgiveness should be like real, like genuine, like because you feel it. No, not just say it like a magic word, like I'm sorry. No, you're feeling like, okay, I'm ready to forgive you, and I think that's perfectly fine.
That's a good point, actually. Forgiveness can only truly come when you are able to do that. It shouldn't be sort of like someone should say, "Oh shit, sorry," and everyone goes, "Oh, it's all right, no problem." For some people, it's not immediate. They need time, and they may never come to that point, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
I carry a list of mental grudges that I can just pick out of like a mental box, and then, this asshole. Now I can just pick up that anger, like something that I felt a year ago. Just, fuck this guy. Like recall it photographically, and then once, whatever, if it's a discussion or just something that pops up in my brain, after a while I'll put it back in the box and put it away. But
is the woman who puked on you at Roadburn on that list?
I forgave her instantly. I was more thinking about
but it's a good point.
Certain booker in concert promoter in Stockholm, for example, or
Yeah, but Tetelov made a point, because you have that box and you should be able to take things out of that box when you want, when you're ready to. And if it's not the time, you keep that in that box, and that's fine. It's human nature. It's your emotions. You can deny them.
If there's no action shown towards like rectifying the wrong, then I will stay mad. I just won't think about it as often.
Yeah. And I think that's perfectly legitimate, and everybody should be free to do that. We've all said in slightly different ways, Lithos said it right at the start, it's the action behind the word sorry that is important, not the word sorry itself.
Yeah, and it is, and I see a kind of comparing Satanism to, say, Christianity. I see a parallel here with Pillar 4, where sort of in Christianity, the acting with empathy, compassion, and wisdom towards others is a prerequisite in terms of you must do this, or else. And the same thing with this one, where the forgiveness, is a prerequisite, or else you are not a Christian, or else punishment will befall you in the afterlife, whatever. Whereas in our case, it's no, you should act that way because it's the decent thing to do, and you fucking believe it's the decent thing to do. You believe compassion is the right thing to do. You believe fixing your mistakes is the right thing to do. Not because it's a rule, but because you fucking believe it.
Yeah,
I think that makes sense.
I think
the idea that it's kind of like, and we're getting back to this idea of things being a commodity again, being able to say sorry shouldn't buy you a spot in some mythical afterlife. It should be done because it's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
For the humans around you, not to get you a spot in some kind of like bullshit paradise.
Yeah, and what Lithos say that is because you believe that. I think that's what separates us from Christianity or anyone, because they give orders like you have to do this or I will punish you like for all eternity. But at the same time, they think, they really believe, at least the people that are under those religions, they believe these rules apply to everyone. Like if you exist, you have to follow those rules. Otherwise, I will torture you or anything. In Satanism, and I explained this when somebody wants to apply to Iglesia Satanista, is we don't give you any order. We don't tell you what to think, anything. The only thing we do is that if you personally now, at this moment, you agree with these pillars, you are welcome to the group, and that's it. And if you don't agree, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. We can be friends and everything. It's not an order. It's not, nothing is enforced to you. We are just people that agree with that voluntarily, and that's all. It's not a law. It's not something that if you don't believe this part, I will punish you. If you don't believe this part, well, don't believe in that part. That's fine. I mean, you're not like 100% like GOS Satanist, but you can be another kind of Satanist. That's perfectly fine. We're not trying to impose this to everyone. So I think that's one of the main differences with Abrahamic religions or others, I think.
That's a good point, actually. Sorry, Chantal.
Like that very orthodox mindset of my way or the highway is extremely Church of Satan, Laveyan Satanist mindset.
Actually, yeah.
I was literally just going to say that it's an interesting thing, even within Satanism itself, how different an organization such as ourselves are to an organization such as Church of Satan. And the idea that there are a set of, I mean, Jesus Christ, we've got 6 pillars? I think TST have got 7 tenets. Church of Satan have got
Oh,
9
God, it's a
rules,
mess.
11 guidelines, 6
Yeah.
fucking Jesus fucking Christ, guys, get a grip.
And then a Bible, and you go, right, okay,
And a
if you're
Bible.
putting yourself up as an alternative, don't call it a fucking Bible, you twat. You know, it's like already saying it's a Bible is like, what? No, you know, and in the end, yes, we have, like Strauss said, you know, if you believe in these 6 pillars and you want to do your best to live your life along those lines, then yes, you're welcome. If not, then fine. You know, do your own thing. You know, it doesn't make you a terrible person. It just means you don't believe it. And in the end, if, you know, you need the threat of eternity suffering in hell to behave like a decent person, what does that say about you
That
as
you're
a
just
person?
a trained dog.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. It's like,
And as Chantelouve was saying earlier, none of the pillars are supposed to be taken independently of each other. They all coexist. I think there's even a line somewhere that says no one pillar should be raised above any of the others. They should all be kind of like taken together as a whole.
Yeah, it's the the preface to the 6 pillars is literally Satanism helps define how we live our lives and interact with other people. The founding pillars of a satanic organization guide and empower you to live a satanic lifestyle. No single founding pillar should be raised higher than any other. Our actions should be guided by them collectively.
That's it.
Which is, basically.
Yeah.
It's like a way to express we are free thinkers. Like, we are not sheep. We are not following these rules because we cannot think about it. It's because we want to, because we came to the rational conclusion that those pillars make sense at the end.
Yeah.
And in the end, everyone... Sorry, carry on.
My feeling was more like the shoe fits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you know, everyone who is not a Satanist that I've come across, but it has been kind of like fairly open-minded about not going, oh my fucking God, what is that? Jesus, don't talk to me. I'll burst into flames. You know, when presented with the 6 pillars, they go, look, I can't argue with those.
No.
Those are eminently sensible rules. And it's like, what else is there? And it's like, no, that's it.
That's it, really.
That's it. That's how we try and live our lives. We might get together in robes and go hail Satan around a fire pit, or, you know, that's a ritual, you know. But essentially, this is it. This is what it's about. Those, and you don't need any more. You don't need any more than those 6 guidelines. I firmly believe those 6 guidelines pretty much cover how to not be a twat, how to be a decent human being.
And you don't have to be a member of GOS to follow them. You don't even have to be a Satanist to follow them. You know, they could,
absolutely.
To me, they exist perfectly well outside of the context of Satanism, just as well as they do within it for GOS.
Yeah. They are open source. Should you want to adapt them to your own beliefs?
I mean,
should you want to?
Yeah, and actually, I'm the kind of person that likes to, when something you think of something that is very important, like sacred, I like to put it in the ground. Like, no, this is just a normal thing. And with Global Order of Satan, this Global Order of Satan is basically being honest with ourselves. The people that want to be part of it is because we want to hang out in Discord and talk about movies and meals that we made at night, and to have this podcast. But it's not that requisite. I mean, if you, like you said, if you don't want to be part of Global Order of Satan, but you like all those pillars, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. We don't need people to join us to be this really large institution. It's just a social group. It's just a group of people that likes to hang out, and that's all.
Yeah, I mean, I have that same argument with. I'm going to talk about the Fediverse now and confuse everybody. But I see this argument a lot on Mastodon and Lemmy, and it's like, how can we grow this community? How can we make it bigger?
Why?
It's like,
Why?
well, you don't need to grow it. If people want to join the community, they will do because they want to, because they agree with or either in full or in part with the values that we believe, and that's fine.
Yeah,
we don't want to promote ourselves as something that we're not, just in order to have some inflated growth that in the end is going to mean fucking nothing, really.
Yeah, it's like when you compare like internet before this crap social media that we have now. When you have forums, that was the standard socialization platform in internet. You never thought about how many people we have. We had to get more people. I mean, I was in a forum here, a local forum of Confrontation. There was a war game, a tabletop game, and we were like, I don't know, 60 people or something. And it was boiling in conversations every day. It was a lot of activity there. We didn't need any more people over there. And now you have to have like, I don't know, 100,000 followers on Twitter to validate it, and you don't talk to anyone. It's like numbers don't mean shit. I mean, here in Iglesia Danista, we are now, I think, like 10 people or something in like a year or maybe, I don't know. And it's fine. We are not looking for more people. It's when people reach us, we welcome them, and that's it. It's not the number. It's not. This is not a company. You don't have to raise your KPIs or anything. We are humans.
Quality, not quantity.
Exactly.
Well, it is almost like there is some authoritarian concept driven into humankind, from leading figures. Like in the past, it was your empire must grow. You must absorb more territory. Now it's turned to late stage capitalism, which is if your economy isn't growing, your company isn't growing, you don't get more customers, you're shit. And there's like this concept of, no, we have a steady customer base who are happy, or we are, we are a nation that is happy with our territory, or, we're an organization that is happy with our members, and we're not looking to grow, but if you want to join, fine.
Yeah.
That's kind of, it's been driven into us. That's lame. That's terrible.
No, it's fine.
How uninventive, how unimaginative are you? And it's like, no, this is fucking capitalist bullshit.
Yeah. And that capitalist bullshit is not rational, because they are always proposing that you have this constant growth in a finite universe. It doesn't make any sense. Like I'm working right now in a project where I want to open this local film photography store, and some people that I know have been told me, okay, in your cash flow, I'm not seeing how you will grow this company to hire more people. And I say, why? I don't want that. I just want to be in a store, talking to people, selling some stuff, and that's all, and that's perfect, and I'm happy with that. I don't need this infinite growth within our organization. We are not making efforts how we can get more people. Like we should have ads on TV. No, why? That's not necessary. It's not a competence. It's not a how to say it. We're not competing against other Satanist groups or anything.
No, we're the global order of Satan. We're not the constantly growing empire of Satan.
No,
we are what we are. We're happy with who we are. If you want to join us, that's great. If you don't, that's also great.
Yeah,
we only want enough people to be able to. Us at the top wants to be able to step down if we ever burn out.
That too.
You only want enough people to like get a healthy. Work balance for the people at the top, so that they may be replaced, and the show will go on without anyone noticing, really.
Yeah, that constant growth idea is not healthy, as you say. It's not good for humans, I think.
No, I agree.
Well, if you look at sort of permanent growth being a good thing, just cancer, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
really
exponential growth, that's literally what it is.
Yeah.
You're going, no, can we just somehow get back to the position where if you're all right
that's fine.
and you are living a life you are happy with,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that.
I saw a meme the other day about that. It was like, I don't remember how it was framed, but it was like some millionaire and somebody said, okay, you reach, I don't know, $1 billion or something. And they give him a diploma. You won capitalism. But I want more. No, you don't have more. You already won. Congratulations. You want capitalism. That's your diploma. Be happy with that. It's why you need like $100 billion. You can't even spend that. It's crazy. So yeah, that's not rational. I think that's why my main thing in life is being against capitalism. So this type of conversations, like, it's a fire in me. Capitalism is such bullshit. It's destroying all of us. So yeah, it's not human.
Ironically, I think that well, not ironically, I think it flows from the pillars. Largely that is something that people within the organization share, that viewpoint of, no, this isn't about money.
Well, actually,
late stage capitalism is fucking toxic.
Yeah, actually, I have people say to me like, but these fundamental principles you have in the website, in your website, like you as a group, they sound kind of progressive. Like I said, like, yeah, what's the problem with that? And he say like, that if you make some different pillars that are more agreeable with more people, you have like a broader audience, and that's why you want that. I mean, that's what led us to at this point of history where everything is gray and squared and simple. Like, do you remember like mobile phones in the 2000s that they were all different shapes and colors, and now we have this bullshit like black rectangles. Yeah, there's many more people will buy this, but it's so crappy. It's the worst.
It's what someone I know calls the homogenization of culture.
Yeah,
in that everything reaches its common denominator of dull, grey, square things that don't have any kind of like individuality or kind of, and it does come back to the pillars and how we interpret them, and the idea that we should be continually pushing growth and we should be doing this because we'd reach a wider audience. Oh God, why do you use Satan? If you didn't use Satan, you'd be appealing to more people. It's like, yeah, but we do because that's what we like. So fuck off.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. It's like literally that. When people go, why Satan? It's like, well, because I kind of like going, hail Satan.
Yeah.
And I like the whole, I do like the theatre of it as well, I admit. I fucking like it. I find plain atheism a bit dull, to be quite honest.
Yeah. A week ago,
and dismissive.
Yes, sometimes. A week ago, a student of journalism from the Catholic University here interviewed me for for a university thing, and she asked me why we use concepts like priests or stuff like that, and I said because, well, it's kind of fun. We want to. It's fun. It's cool to say I'm a chaplain or something. So why not? And she was like, "Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that."
Well, yeah. I mean, it's also a way. I've always thought of it, of us saying, like, oh, one of us is a chaplain, one of us is kind of like a sort of like ritualistic vicar, etc., etc. It's kind of also a way, as well as being fun, of robbing those people who have those titles officially of whatever bullshit power they think they have by using those terms.
Yeah, it's like when they say, this is important what I'm saying because I'm a bishop, you can say, well, I'm a bishop
too.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing impressive.
Unlike in the church, you don't have to study for it. You don't have to do any. If I want to make myself blasphemer general today, I'll go, I'm Lithos, blasphemer general of GOS.
Yeah, that's fine.
Fuck Jesus.
To be honest, I've always seen you in that role anyway.
And it is like, Well, who made you that? I did, and I made it up, and I'm not ashamed of it. Why shouldn't I? I can call myself anything I fucking like.
Yeah, I think it's a very healthy, like, philosophical point of position, because you are saying titles or names or stuff are not sacred, are not important. People are important. I can be like the super extreme ultra highest priest of Iglesias Danista, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm still Strauss, and that's it. Like, people is the important thing, not the name of the institution. This is like the highest, this is all bishop or somewhere. So what? You are still a human being, and humans are the ones that should be like protagonists, not artificial concepts or anything.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yep. That is what we are, folks. We are just people.
Yeah.
We are just people who are doing what we want to do. Who are trying to live our lives as we see we are entitled to.
Yeah.
And we like to live. And we want to let others have that same freedom. Mm-hmm. And we will. But if you start to try and force your morality or your ideas or the way you live your life on others, we will say, no, get to fuck.
Yeah.
You don't determine what I do.
Exactly.
You know, I won't tell you what to fucking do with your life. Don't tell me what to fucking do with mine, kind of thing.
I think an important sort of codicil to that point is that we are always and completely open to the idea and concept of change.
Yeah.
Change is a good thing. Change means growth. Change means evolution. That's not the same thing as growth, unchecked growth for the sake of growth, which is, as Lithos very graphically demonstrated, little more than cancer. So I do think it's important that we sort of like recognise the difference between change and growth as two things.
Yeah, life on Earth, like it's like it is right now because of evolution, not just a bunch of plagues. It's species evolve. When the species become a plague, it ends up dying, not prospering. So
yeah, and it goes back to one of the pillars as well, which says, you know, our understanding of the universe around us should always adhere to our best scientific understanding. And science itself is a constantly changing and evolving thing. What was true 500 years ago is no longer true. Yeah. We no longer think that, you know, the sun orbits the Earth. We no longer see the sun as the centre of the whole universe. You know, science changes, ideas change. And change is not something we should fear, but unchecked, unmetered growth simply for the sake of growth is not something that I think is healthy or we should entertain.
Yeah,
absolutely. And earlier, Strauss, you mentioned, you know, people saying to you, well, are you progressive, some kind of progressive or something, you know, almost like it's something bad. And it's like, no, it's good. Progress is good. Change is good. You know, evolution is good. Everything, it's all good because that is how we improve our situation.
Progression.
That is how we improve our lot.
And also, like, what's the word? Variety? Like, when you have, I don't know how to pronounce it, but
variety.
Yeah. When somebody says, why are you just progressive Satanist? Because that's fine. If there's people that want to be like far right-wing Satanists, they can do that too. Like, you don't have to be this monopoly big corporation always. So when you define yourself with something concrete, it makes it more real, more genuine, more honest, I think.
But definitely fuck right-wing Satanists.
Yeah.
You know, you are entitled to, you know, you are free people, you are entitled to, but we will go fuck you.
Yeah, actually,
when I say right wing, I'm talking about Nazi Satanism specifically.
Yeah, I think this is a personal opinion. I think we should have like a seventh pillar that should say it's okay to punch Nazis.
Yes,
it is required to punch Nazis.
And remember, it's always okay to punch a Nazi.
Okay. How you doing, Chantalouve? I know it's getting on in your time zone.
Yeah, as you've noticed, I've gone pretty quiet. My alarm will go off in 7 hours and 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. Right.
Right.
Shall we wrap up?
Yeah, we'll wrap up. And first of all, I would just really like to say thank you, Chantalouve, and thank you, Strauss. It's really been awesome to have you on. It's great to have different voices from different parts of the globe on this. That's what we're all about. And
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us, for contributing. It's really appreciated. We love it when this kind of thing happens.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
It has been
So
very cool.
hail Sweden, and hail Chile, and hail Satan.
And hail every one of us.
Absolutely. So we shall say thank you for listening, to anyone who's listening. And from each one of us, hail Satan, look after yourselves.
Hail Satan!
Hail Satan!
Our usual thanks to friends of the podcast, Matt and the guys from Hearst Pileup, for letting us use their music as our theme tune. Why not check them out on Bandcamp? And while you're at it, why not check out our compilation, the proceeds of which go to charity, and it's called Contra Odium, from the Satan Not Hatin' campaign. As usual, if you have any comments or you'd like to suggest topics for future episodes, please email us at gospod@ghostsatan.com. That's GOSPOD at GOSATAN.com. And in the meantime, be well, hail Satan, and thank you for listening.